तो वेलकम बैक गाइस। अ लॉट ऑफ यू नो कि मैं गुजरात से हूँ और पसूरी के बाद जब एक गुजराती गाना बिकेम फेमस इन कोक स्टूडियो तो आई वाज वेरी क्लियर कि इस पे तो हम बात करेंगे, है ना। अपना मतलब हु कुड हैव इमेजिन्ड दैट अ गुजराती सॉन्ग वुड टेक 70 million views on Coke Studio and go so crazy viral. And we were talking about Insta Reels, and it has gone into all that. So many places it has been used. So many artists have performed to it, and World Cup पे भी perform हुआ अभी recently. And it's just a proud feel that a unique song from Gujarat. It is not the typical Dandiya Garba song. It's a very unique song and take, and it is a coming together of a set of very interesting artists who have created this. गाना तो सबने सुना है, but let's go behind the scenes. Let's talk about the artists. Let's talk about what it means. Let's talk about why that song is so catchy and why it becomes that popular thing. So the way I was thinking of doing this is a little different. I wanted to play the song, but then keep pausing it at different times and then have a conversation around it. Let's
Coke Studio Bharat. Subscribe now.
You can hear this, right?
Godilo, tame godilo, 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 tame godilo, godilo. Nathi je majama khali vaavta tajama evo hadino pravasi godilo. Godilo, tame godilo, 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 tame godilo, godilo. Nathi je majama khali vaavta tajama evo hadino pravasi godilo. Oh, कांटे सी जा तू जा, दरिये सी जा तू जा, कांटे सी जा तू जा, godilo.
I will give a little bit of context of the lyrics so far. हाँ, it's in.
Yes, please.
I think कुछ कोक स्टूडियो के ट्रांसलेशन में समझ आ जाता है, but it's not very obvious for someone who is not from Gujarat. So Khalasi, the word, is the name of a coast. Gujarat, by the way, is a state with the longest coastline in India. It's not what it's known for usually, but it's a state with such a massive long coastline that actually it's a coastal state. And Khalasi is people who live on the coast who are actually fishermen. So Khalasi is a fisherman community in Gujarat, and this song is about them. And usually they are Khalasi जो लोग होते हैं, they are considered to be very hardy, hardworking. वो जाते हैं फिशिंग के लिए in very rough waters. And these news what we used to hear ना कि वो इंडियन फिश मछुआरों को पाकिस्तान ने पकड़ लिया, and ये सारे वही लोग हैं क्योंकि वहीं से वो they just somehow get into Pakistan waters and all of that. So these are generally hardy, hardworking people, and the song starts with Gotilo, which means ढूंढो उसको. Gotilo मतलब ढूंढ लो, literally that's what it means. But it says कि find me a awesome Khalasi who is fearless, who is a seafarer, who like Gotilo, वो खारवो खलासी Gotilo. But it also then says कि ऐसा ढूंढो जो who is not impressed by vanities. मतलब सिर्फ बोर्ड पे झंडा लगाए और सिर्फ अगर मतलब it's a nice board, then that doesn't cut it. You need to find someone who is a खारवो मतलब hardy. Like that's what it means. This is the literal meaning of the song. As the song will progress, and we will see it in some part, it becomes very philosophical suddenly. And I'll come to that part very soon. But let's talk a little bit about the artist. Had you ever heard of Achint and Aditya Gadhvi before? Achint, though, you would have heard, right?
Achint, yes. Yeah.
So Achint actually is a Guju boy, but he is a famous music director now in Bollywood. So the हर्षद मेहता की जो मूवी थी स्कैम 92, वो उसका म्यूजिक। करेक्ट। एक और भी मूवी मैंने, एक और भी बॉलीवुड मूवी में उसने म्यूजिक दिया है। यस, मोनिका ओ माई डार्लिंग जो रिसेंटली आई थी अभी, तो दैट वाज आल्सो हिज 2022 में आई थी, दैट वाज आल्सो हिज म्यूजिक. एंड देन स्कूप एक टीवी सीरीज है, दैट इज आल्सो हिज म्यूजिक. सो ही इज kind of an established music director and always has a unique take, a very interesting take on songs. उसका एक typical style है. If you listen to some of these albums, you will get it. So he was invited. The second artist you see who is जो गाना गा रहा है, Aditya Gadhvi, is a very famous Gujarati singer. Comes from a family of very traditional folk Gujarati singers. And when he does that alap in the song later, it is a very typical folk Gujarati alap. तो वो देख के ही समझ में आ जाता है कि ये प्रॉपर गुजराती सिंगर है, फोक सिंगर है. और तीसरा इंटरेस्टिंग आर्टिस्ट है हु इज़ नॉट ऑन द वीडियो इज़ सौम्या. तो सौम्या इज़ द लिरिक राइटर हु हैज़ written all the lyrics of this song. It sounds like a folk song to me, honestly. When I heard it for the first time, I thought कि ये कोई पुराना गुजराती folk song है, उसको लेके they have converted to a Coke Studio.
Oh,
song,
that
but
is
वैसा
not
नहीं
the
है.
case. Okay.
No,
Wow.
it sounds like a folk song, but it's not. It's actually a newly written song for Coke Studio.
They've done it pretty well then.
Yeah, exactly. So Saumya is an interesting guy because he is the writer of that movie Oh My God, जो अक्षय कुमार वाली मूवी थी.
अच्छा.
He is also the writer of that अमिताभ बच्चन की एक मूवी आई थी which is 102 Not Out. So that is
some
also
time
he is the writer of that movie also, apart from some very good Gujarati movies, Helaro and stuff. So he's also a very established Gujarati. He comes from a theatre background, lyric writing, movie writing and all of that. And this song sort of came about of, I would say, jamming of these three guys together. When Saumya Singh was tasked with writing the lyrics, Achint of course bringing the music to it, and then Aditya Gadhvi trying to sing it in his typical folk style. But the X factor होता है ना हर गाने में, वो होता है कि what brings it to life. In my view, it is those 5 girls who are singing the chorus
Exactly.
there.
I was saying कि you missed
the-
out the chorus girls.
Yes.
वो X factor है.
वो कोरस गर्ल्स ने मचा दिया है, मतलब एंड दे आर जेन्युइनली हैविंग फन व्हाइल सिंगिंग दैट सॉन्ग, एंड दैट्स व्हाट ब्रिंग्स इट अलाइव. एंड द वे दे हैव डन द कोरस इन द बैकग्राउंड ऑफ the whole song, even when the rap comes and all, is just phenomenal, and they are actually in my view the star of the video.
जैसे Coke Studio पाकिस्तान में विकाजी sisters थी, right? मतलब
correct.
they had bigger Facebook fan pages than most of the
Yeah.
bigger artists.
તમે ગોતી લો કાંઠેથી જા તું જા દરિયેથી જા તું જા કાંઠેથી જા તું જા ગોતી લો તમે ગોતી લો એ વેવા દો જા વહીએ રેવા દો જા સહીએ.
ये 2 लाइनें इज़ व्हेन इट स्टार्ट्स गेटिंग फिलोसॉफिकल, राइट? लेट अस बी, जहाँ मैं वहाँ रहने दो, जहाँ बह रहे हैं वहाँ बहने दो टाइप का फील है. एंड देन
વેવા દો હવે રેવા દો હવે નથી જે મજામાં ખાલી વાવટા ધજામાં એવો હાડનો પ્રવાસી ગોતી લો.
એવો કોણ છે ખલાસી મને કહી દો ને એના સામને ઠેકાણા મને દઈ દો ને એવો કોણ છે ખલાસી મને કહી દો ને
ગોતી લો તમે ગોતી લો
એવો કોણ છે ખલાસી મને કહી દો ને એના સામને ઠેકાણા મને દઈ દો ને એવો કોણ છે ખલાસી મને કહી દો ને
ગોતી લો તમે ગોતી લો
खेवैया ओ खेवैया खंबोरे हाय हाय हैया निकली जा लेने तू तारी नैया खंबर हाय हाय अंबर है खेवैया ओ खेवैया खंबोरे हाय हाय हैया निकली जा लेने नैया खंबर हाय हैया
વેવા દો જા વહીએ રેવા દો જા સહીએ. વેવા દો અહીં રેવા દો અહીં નથી જે મજામાં ખાલી વાવટા ધજામાં એવો હાડનો પ્રવાસી ગોતી લો.
એવો કોણ છે ખલાસી મને કહી દો ને એના સામને ઠેકાણા મને દઈ દો ને એવો કોણ છે ખલાસી મને કહી દો ને ગોતી લો તમે ગોતી લો એવો કોણ છે ખલાસી મને કહી દો ને એના સામને ઠેકાણા મને દઈ દો.
तो ये जो आलाप कर रहा है ना, ये इफ़ यू क्लोजली हियर यू विल फील के थोड़ा ऑफ नोट जा रहा है. इट्स नॉट अ नेचुरल, उस राग में नहीं है आलाप, मतलब जिस राग में गाना है उस राग में नहीं. एंड देर आर अ लॉट ऑफ माइक्रोटोन्स बीइंग यूज्ड विच आर ऑफ स्केल, एंड दिस इज़ अ वेरी टिपिकल वे ऑफ डूइंग इट इन गुजराती फोक. सो गुजराती फोक, आई विल प्ले 1 or 2 ऑफ गुजराती फोक के शॉर्ट स्निपेट्स अभी शॉर्टली, एंड यू विल सी के गुजराती फोक के जो नोट्स हैं दे आर माइक्रो नोट्स, माइक्रोटोन्स विच आर टिपिकली नॉट पार्ट ऑफ द 12 नोट्स दैट आर पार्ट ऑफ हिंदुस्तानी क्लासिकल. तो वो इट साउंड्स अ बिट ऑफ, बट देर इज़ अ लॉट ऑफ प्रैक्टिस बिहाइंड दिस टू गेट देम राइट. So that's what he is trying to do. He is trying to play that folk notes.
સામને ઠેકાણા મને દઈ દો ને
और दूसरा चीज़ आई डोंट नो इफ़ यू नोटिस कि वो जो लेडी है जो हु इज़ गिविंग द परक्यूशंस एंड द इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स ऑन इट, वो अल्ट्रा मॉडर्न है. इट इज़ प्रॉपर ट्रॉपिकल बीट्स दैट इज़ गोइंग ऑन इन दिस सॉन्ग टू गिव दैट वाइब ऑफ द होल द बीच कोस्टल सॉन्ग. एंड देन बहुत सारे स्लैप्स और हिट्स भी हैं उसमें. दे आर नॉट टिपिकल परक्यूशंस. वो ये इट्स क्वाइट फिनोमिनल द होल परक्यूशंस अराउंड दिस सॉन्ग.
અરે કિનારા તો સ્થિર અને સલામત હોય પણ માણસ એના માટે નથી સર્જાણો. અરે ખારવો ખલાસી તો ઈ કહેવાય કે જે ફણીધર નાગ જેવા દરિયાની સામે ઉતરે અને ઉતરવું પડે કારણ કે કિનારે તો ખાલી પડે નાની નાની બગલીને નાના એવા સપનાની રેત વાળી ઢગલીને તોફાનો તરાપ મારે હાલે સાવ આપી જાય તોય જેની હિંમત અને આમ નહીં આપે એવો ખારવો ખલાસી એવો હાડનો પ્રવાસી એવો ખારવો ખલાસી એવો હાડનો પ્રવાસી.
So this is what tells that the song is not about Khalasi. It's about actually going into yourself and finding yourself. That's what that song is about. And हाँ, तो खुद को ढूंढ लो is what the song is basically about. And the whole meaning behind all of this is to say, let it flow, stay where you are, go inside, find your own self. That's what it's trying to say with the folk theme of the Khalasi tribe in Gujarat. And that's where it dropped for me, saying कि यार बहुत deep लिखा है. मतलब the way he has written it is quite interesting.
Phenomenal.
तो इवन जो रैप कर रहा था वहाँ पे वो बीच में जो एक रैप पार्ट आया था, दैट रैप पार्ट बाय द वे इज़ ऑल्सो अ वेरी टिपिकल गुजराती फोक वे ऑफ डूइंग रैप. एंड आई वॉन्ट टू शेयर दैट टू गिव यू अ कॉन्टेक्स्ट ऑफ हाउ इट वॉज ट्रेडिशनली डन. ये लेट मी शेयर दिस. और इसमें आदित्य और अचिंत का इंटरव्यू है ये एक्चुअली, जिसमें आदित्य शेयर्स के वो फोक क्या है, मतलब हाउ डज दैट गुजराती फोक साउंड.
आज के जमाने हम जैसे रैप बोलते हैं, वो हमारे छंद चारणी छंदों में कब से बहुत सालों से गाया जाता है. तो एक छोटा सा मैं एग्जांपल देता हूँ हमारा फोक लिटरेचर का, कि वो कैसे गाया जाता है. सपाखरू कैसे बोला जाता है कि चढ़ा अहाडी वादड़ा काला दोबड़ा जंबर शुभ दशु होतो राधी माथे उछड़ा दरार अने झिंगुरा मोरला माथे वाहरी मंडाणी जड़ी एक धारा मेघ राजा मंडाणी जपार ब्रह्मंडे तुरटिया इंद्र पाळ ताळा पाणी वाळा हाथी हुंड वाळा काळा मंडाणी हिलोळ नगा वाला धक्का गाला नदी नाला फाड़ी नाका आला माथे जड़ा दड़ा फैलिया आतोड़. तो ये थॉट मैंने रखा और अंकुर तिवारी, अचिंत, सौम्य सर हम सब बैठे थे, तो उन्होंने कहा कि
the first day we are meeting and he does cool. We are like cool.
तो उन्होंने कहा कि नहीं, we want to take this thing, लेकिन हम इसे नया लिखेंगे, नए स्टाइल में. तो सौम्य सर ने इसके लिए हमारे लिरिक्स लिखे कि किनारे तो खाली पड़े नानी नानी पगली ने नाना एवा सपनानी रेत वाली ढगली ने तोफानो तराप मारे हले साव हापी जाए तोय जेनी हिम्मत अने हाम नहीं हापे एवो खारवो खलासी एवो हाडनो प्रवासी एवो खारवो खलासी एवो हाडनो प्रवासी गोतीलो 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 गोतीलो. तो मतलब गाना धीरे धीरे अपने आप जो बना है, हम पूरी प्रोसेस को एंजॉय कर रहे थे और ये चीज बनी है.
तो दे obviously had a lot of fun creating this basically.
Really, इसका BTS भी मजेदार होगा.
Coke Studio ने नहीं डाला इसका BTS. That is why I had to go looking for some other interviews to find के how did it come together. I have been trying to find information about those 5 girls who have brought this song to life. Their names are there on the YouTube video. So Isha Nair, Mausam Mehta, Malka Mehta, Basari Maisuria and Deepali Vyas. Now, I had a strong hunch that 2 of those 5 females were actually twins because they exactly look alike. And the name confirms it. So, Mausam Mehta and Malka Mehta are probably the ones, and they exactly look alike, and they are probably... So they are sisters there. And then the other name I couldn't take earlier, which is Arifa, who is the drummer and the person doing the electronic beats. I haven't, but I will go and explore her music more because what she's doing in that song is really stellar. Like those sticks and slams and beats is quite stunning. So yeah, but
the chorus part, indeed, like you put it, it brings the energy which propels the entire song, and such an infectious energy. When you're listening to it, it always brings about an upbeat
and
emotion.
Thought through, there is too much thought gone in the chorus part, honestly. And the way you can feel it is there is a line in that song, जब वो रैप से पहले जब वो एक म्यूज़िक स्टॉप हो जाता है, एंड देन ही डिस्क्राइब्स के खारवो खलासी तो एक कहवाए, मतलब खारवो खलासी वो है जो ફણીધર નાગ જેવા દરિયાની સામે ઉતરે, मतलब जो एक स्नेक टाइप के दरिया के सामने उतर जाए बिना डर के. अब जब वो लाइन आ रही है तब दैट व्हाट द गर्ल्स डू एज कोरस इज सो एप्ट.
અરે કિનારા તો સ્થિર અને સલામત હોય પણ માણસ એના માટે નથી સર્જાણો. અરે ખારવો ખલાસી તો
You know that feeling of a rising snake that has been captured in their chorus in many ways. Of a sea, say, rising snake. Wow, it has been thought through, and all chorus elements come together many times over. So, to me, it was, while it's become very popular and it's another Gujarati Dandiya Garba song and that, but when I went deep into it, I thought, wow, this is really not an old folk song which has been redone. It's a new piece of art that's been created now, and it's been created by people who are already mainstream. These are already famous people in Bollywood. Saumya, Aditya Gadhvi is also very, very famous. He does concerts all over the world. Achint also. And of course, Ankur Tiwari, who is behind this season of Coke Studio, who is really brought it to life, I feel. He's given it a new life, honestly.
Finally,
Bharat
because
Live.
I think that grudge has been ki even the big names which have come in Coke Studio India in past, especially in the first season, they unka somehow it didn't gel well, and maybe the fun these whole set of people had behind the
Yeah,
scenes, uska ye
correct.
outcome hai. Maybe शायद ज़्यादा बड़े name थे. I think these are known names, but ऐसा नहीं है कि they are the Arijit Singhs of the world और उस level का fame भी नहीं है.
Bilkul.
And in fact, when I saw Achint in the list, I was not surprised because Achint I have been following before he became famous for Scam 92 and Scoop. Scoop का भी जब मैंने सुना मैंने कहा यार ये तो sound लग रहा है कि कुछ एक artist है, and it was Achint. Like some artists have that, like Anirudh we were talking about in our last discussion. He has a signature sound. अब उसका music movie भी सुनोगे तो लगेगा अच्छा it's probably Anirudh. So I want to play one track which is more than 5 years old, and I had subscribed to Achint back then with this track. It's called
Sure, sure,
Railgaadi.
sure.
I feel it has a similar vibe of energy of multiple different type of artists coming together and creating a masterpiece. Let me just play this
Yeah.
track.
ધોરા રે ધોરામાં મારી રેલગાડી ચાલે ધોરા રે ધોરામાં મારી રેલગાડી ચાલે ઓ મારે બાબુડો ટિકટિયા રે માંગે રે યમા અરે બાબુડો રે ટિકટિયા રે માંગે રે યમા દેવે નીરે ગાડ તીરો ભાડી ઓ મનો દેવે નીરે ગાડ તીરો ભાડી
Aha, nice.
So I love this track. मतलब इसमें भी वो peppy feel है. It's beautiful.
Beautiful.
Then वो the way Achint has immersed himself in the room, you can see कि
Yeah,
मतलब
yeah.
जैसे रोहिल यार साइड में बैठ के अपना बेस लेके बैठा होता है ना कोक स्टूडियोज में. So he's there, but
Yes.
he is letting every other element come to life.
Come to life.
Truly
exactly.
immersed himself with the folk artists.
So ये
Beautiful.
Coke Studio में I feel what Ankur Tiwari is letting artists do is do exactly this, where he is kind of there, but he's also not there. He's letting them do their thing, but making sure that it's coming together and he's giving the right space and guidance to them. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
a great curation that way. And I also have something from this season of Coke Studio Bharat itself. There's another track produced by an upcoming Indian producer called Donn Bhat. I think he's from Kashmir. And quite mind blown to come across this guy. He has less than 5,000 subscribers on his channel on YouTube right now. So he's done a track called Taqdeer with Prabhdeep, Rashmeet Kaur, and Sakur Khan. And it's
a
really
nice
quite
one.
something.
Yeah. I agree.
Let's listen to Taqdeer.
Hey, you Donn.
चन्न वेखो होया नहीं महसूस कुछ प्यार दी है लोड़ चन्न रोज आवे भारत दिसे ना है तेरा नहीं कसूर चन्न दी है रोशनी दा तारे ते एहसान चन्न दसे मैनू तकदीर खिचे प्यार दी लकीर अज आ रवे या पार प्यार नाल चुकाई प्यार दा उदार
तकदीर बनायो फकीर तकदीर बनायो फकीर वो मुखे तख्त चढ़ायो हीर मुखे तख्त चढ़ायो हीर तख्त चढ़ायो हीर तख्त चढ़ायो हीर तकदीर बनायो फकीर तकदीर बनायो फकीर वो मुखे तख्त चढ़ायो हीर तख्त चढ़ायो हीर
Do you know Sakur Khan? Sakur Khan Sufi. He comes from this tribe which is known as Manganiyar, and it's a very interesting tribe. I know it because this tribe comes from Sindh, and I am a Sindhi also. That tribe has been folk singers for generations and generations and
Correct.
generations. And on a day-to-day life, they follow Hinduism, but religiously they are Muslims. And they speak a very Islam version of Sindhi. So they speak Sindhi, and what he was singing I could understand because it's Sindhi, but it's also a very different version on it. It's just a very unique tribe that exists. Thar, Sindh, Rajasthan, that part of the subcontinent where they come from. And I think this whole song is anchored on that few lines which he is singing.
Yeah. So
is pretty much...
Bulleh Shah, basically.
It's a Bulleh Shah. I mean, this is based on Bulleh Shah's poetry, which doing a time travel of 400 years and punching in the gut. कि उस दे नाल यारी कभी न रखियो जिसनु अपने पे गुरूर होवे. राह चल दे नू दिल ना कभी भी दैयो लग चेहरे पे नूर होवे. My God. I mean, maybe they should have this as a talisman in school books so that children do not grow up to be as broken adults later on in their lives. So
Veer ke dohe
amazing.
वगैरह भी they are in similar category.
Yeah. Such
Bilkul.
timeless piece of poetry over there. And now all of this, there is all the modern arrangements and fusion over here, like in terms of the vocals, we find a very traditional folk Sufi vocals ranging to rap. Then in terms of
Yeah.
the musical arrangement, string section, we have the sarangi to electric guitar to lap steel guitar. In terms of the percussion, we have acoustic rock drum kit, and then we have electronic drums also. And by the way, kudos to Donn Bhat for emphasizing on the electronic drum sound versus the acoustic rock drum kit sound. It just adds to the palatability. The younger audiences today, they find it way more palatable if it's going to be the 808 drum kit sound versus a traditional acoustic drum kit sound.
It's beautiful. And like, I also feel like similar to Pasuri. Uh, some of the tracks, apart, I think Khalasi is definitely a unique and refreshing track in my opinion. But the other tracks also are getting many more views compared to previous season. But I am not necessarily sure they are far superior compared to previous seasons.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I
it's a,
guess
maybe a
everyone
function of
has a
marketing.
different set of favorites within
No,
Coke
but
Studio.
I don't think it is a function of marketing. I don't think the Coke Studio brand genuinely needs marketing. It is it at the moment a new Coke Studio song comes, there is a followership. It
Yeah,
immediately gets to a basic set of views, which then decides if it goes viral or not. I feel the one thing I distinctly noticed different in this season is the videos. The the videos, the way they are shot, they are now finally allowing the artist to enjoy while they are
Oh,
playing.
yeah, yeah.
The problem with Coke Studio India always has been, and I think Royal Hayat probably figured it out in Coke Studio Pakistan this quite early. All Coke Studio songs are actually recorded in a studio. They are not recorded live when the artists are playing in the video. I feel what used to happen in Coke Studios earlier India seasons was these two, the recorded song and the actual live recording of the video, didn't talk to each other. And somehow the artist didn't really gel with how the song was meant to feel. Probably they weren't enjoying it on the stage as much, or they weren't really playing it live, but focusing on being visually nice and prim proper and all of that. I don't know what it was, but at least in this season, I can totally see that he's forced the artist to kind of just let it flow, let it go, and just perform as you were performing live, and let us then record that video.
I mean, they were having so much fun over here.
Yeah.
A bunch of artists coming from very different disciplines of art by themselves. Sakur Khan is practicing
Correct.
very folk form of art. Prabhdeep is into hip hop. Rashmeet Kaur also up to a certain extent. Donn Bhat himself as a guitarist and then also the producer.
My point is that even in the first season, which was the worst, right? I think Leslie Lewis was doing formula wise, each song had that variation of eclectic set of artists.
Exactly. That was
It
not the
it just
missing
never
element.
clicked, never
Correct.
clicked. Like my opinion is ki the popular and some of my favorite tracks in the previous Coke Studio Bharat or India's season are, it's an Amit Trivedi song or it is a
Yes.
Sachin Jigar song.
Or
मतलब
it's a
वो
Rahman
Clinton
song.
मेरा song,
Yeah.
right? मतलब
Correct, correct.
you feel they are very nice songs. Like obviously most of us love Madari. There is Chaudhary, Amit Trivedi ka,
Right.
yeah, Husna, right? मतलब these are beautiful tracks.
Aao
पर वो
Balma.
लग रहा है कि they don't have that uniqueness of a Coke Studio वाला sound that we all relate to.
पर वही है
Coke
गोपाल,
Studio.
जो हम पहले बात कर रहे थे कि अंकुर तिवारी probably is letting these combination
Exactly.
of artists come together and let
हाँ.
them do their thing rather than forcing a set template के now okay, you are 4 different artists, now this is how you need to come in, come out of a song, and this is how I will sequence it, and this is how the whole fusion will come together. Probably that's not happening now. Having said that, I'm very sure that Ankur Tiwari as a music director is applying his sensibilities to what will go and what will not go, and should we try something else, should we not try something else, and all of that. And that is the other factor which I feel makes a big difference. Like Rohel Hayat's sensibility of picking those right people and bringing them together and letting them do their thing.
बिल्कुल. Whatever I've seen of Ankar Tiwari, he doesn't feel like somebody who's on your
Yeah,
face, who similar to that,
exactly.
laid back and but yet intelligent, yet somebody with
Yes.
modern sense, yet with a broad palette of taste. So I agree with you. I think that's probably a reason. And another thing is ki for me, I heard this in a reel. So there are also newer formats or platforms for these new sounds to reach to younger audience. This could be another reason.
I feel that generally there has been an evolution within the Coke Studio seasons itself. And this time it has been a reboot when it comes to Coke Studio Bharat. There weren't seasons in between for a number of years, right? The palatability, again, I feel might be an important reason for it to strike that chord with the audience. They have become cognizant of the mass appeal of the platform itself. And with that comes in paying more attention to the kind of palatability of sound which the modern young audience is used to. So I feel it is maybe the cognizance of that massive audience, which is what is bringing out all this creativity.
Bollywoodize हो रहा है. Bollywoodization.
Bollywoodization, I'm not sure if I would put it under Bollywoodization necessarily, because this is the good form of commercialization where, you know, they are getting more views with every passing seasons. But thankfully, that is not leading to them cutting corners and coming up with cookie cutter,
यार वो चलेगा ही नहीं.
concepts.
That is not the point of Coke Studio. And if you look at
Exactly,
any
yeah.
typical season, they deliberately, I feel, try to do very experimental, unique things like putting a rap artist with a Sakur Khan or doing a Gujarati folk. It's a very deliberate attempt at trying different things and pulling it together. While there is a very rough contour of what a Coke Studio song will likely sound like, and there is an element of bringing out that ethnic folk tribal music from different parts of the country or whichever part the Coke Studio is playing it. But then how do you put it together? Can be anything, can be electronic, can be rock, can be pop, can be a rap, can be anything.
Yeah,
and even in
anything.
one song all these elements might come in and come out, right?
On the Coke Studio discussion, Yasir, I think at least I and Rajani have talked about it many times about the differences between Pakistan and India. So, firstly, I would take them in different breath. In general, the maturity and popularity of Coke Studio Pakistan is much more than India. India seemed to be like a failed experiment, which is not failure in the sense that songs are not great, but I would say it's a failure in the sense it hasn't come out as a
It
clear
doesn't
positioning.
strike
Like it
the
doesn't have its
chord in the same
stylistic
way.
element.
Correct.
Huh. At the same time, I would also say ki until recently, and like some of the elements you're talking about, right? That Rohil had a rock band. So those influences were natural. If you look at his behind the scenes, he's saying कि Pink Floyd जैसा करते हैं, यहाँ वो Doors वाला keyboard लाते हैं,
Led
right?
Zeppelin
मतलब those
जैसा करते
influences
हैं.
are natural. But after he stopped, like other people started producing and more elements started coming also. But I have a little bit of counter opinion also here that Coke Studio Pakistan doesn't experiment that much, and their range of music is limited to Sufi, Qawwali, little bit of folk within a smaller segment of region and rock. And like there, the bands are limited. Whereas in India, the potential and the range of music which exists, the languages which exists, the styles which exist is much more diverse, and the risks taken were also higher in the initial season. Still, the music producers like Amit Trivedi, Sachin Jigar, and Clinton, they started taking over. उससे पहले they were experimenting way too much, and and we have discussed it many times, right? Whatever is familiar is easier and palatable क्योंकि हमने already राहत फतेह अली खान, नुसरत फतेह अली खान सुना था, तो उसका एक मॉडर्न अवतार combining in a rock way was easier to understand. But suddenly एक rap element ले आते हो, suddenly एक साउथ इंडियन क्लासिकल आप ले आते हो, उसको ब्लेंड करना भी हार्ड है. मतलब it's easier to blame कि वो नहीं कर पाए,
Exactly.
but
So
the
there is
type
a
of elements they're trying to bring were also very diverse.
there is a factor of luck is what we are acknowledging, I guess, at this point, which is definitely there. I mean, in a nutshell, Coke Studio anywhere, Pakistan, India, South Africa, I guess in a nutshell, it is about bringing folk traditions in presented in a modern style, blended with modern sensibilities. So that is how I look at Coke Studio, and I guess broadly, yes, that seems to be the consensus that Coke Studio Pakistan
ऐसा नहीं है ना. इफ यू लुक एट कोक स्टूडियो इंडिया, देर आर मेनी सॉन्ग्स जो जिसमें कोई भी फोक नहीं है या कोई भी ट्रेडिशनल पार्ट नहीं है. लाइक इफ यू लुक एट से पीयूष मिश्रा सॉन्ग हुस्ना, उसमें
नहीं,
कोई भी
but
फोक एलिमेंट नहीं है.
Husna ho gaya na by itself. Like the poetry has a folk touch to it, like the language it is using, the phrases it is using, and even the tone of emotions. It does have a folk nature to it.
But I mean, debatable. You are
Anyways, yeah.
interpreting one way, Gupak is interpreting one way.
Hmm.
ये
Overall,
मदारी
I
guess,
guess
if you
I
जैसे
also feel
मदारी
Coke
pick
Studio
करना.
India, exactly. Coke Studio India first went with artist first approach. कि यार अमित को बुलाते हैं, अमित त्रिवेदी को बोलते हैं, do a few songs for. रहमान को बुलाते हैं, let's do. Clinton को बुलाते हैं, let's do. Then the artist can decide to choose to folk या not folk, but then it is that artist picking a set of broader performers, instruments, vocals, whatever, and then creating music. I think this debate is never ending, honestly. What Coke Studio means is...
it can't be concluded. So, one thing we can definitely conclude with is that we all have spent a significant amount of time with Coke Studio, and no wonder that we have like quite strong opinions around like how good or how bad any Coke Studio season was.
ये तो
and,
होता ही है. You get
yeah.
married to the, you get vested in the
करेक्ट,
music.
अपना
You
बच्चा है
listen.
ना.
Yeah.
हाँ, हमने देखा है, बड़ा होते हुए देखा है.
Exactly,
तो-
करेक्ट
exactly.
करेक्ट, शुरू पहले सीजन से प्यार है.
और बॉर्डर
fact,
के उस
मतलब
साइड वाला भी
इस-
देखा है, बॉर्डर के इस साइड वाला भी बड़ा होते देखा है. तो दोनों.
ठीक है. वैसे खलासी जब मैंने सुना था तो वन आर्टिस्ट व्हिच वी डिडंट गेट टाइम टू कवर वाज मातीबानी. आई थिंक सम ऑफ अस वी वुड हैव हर्ड. दैट वाज द फर्स्ट आर्टिस्ट दैट क्लिक्ड कि वो थोड़ा गुजराती, राजस्थानी, folk and with the world music collaboration, and they have some amazing tracks like Bundan Budan, and they have continued. I was revisiting their channel after a long time, and they have continued to create some amazing music. 3-4 साल पहले मैं काफी सुनता था. It's beautiful.
So this has been good, guys. I just want to close out with a
Yes, sir.
Coke Studio Tamil song. I don't know if everyone knows that there is a Coke Studio Tamil also now.
Yeah. Checked out some of the songs there.
Have we, I'm sure you guys have heard it, but Sagavaasi is a great song from Coke Studio Tamil.
All
If you
right.
haven't heard it yet, you
Coke
should.
Studio Tamil. Subscribe
Let's close
now.
out with this.
Yeah, yeah. Yako, yako. Yeah, yeah. Yako, yako. Yeah, yeah. Yako, yako. Yeah, yeah. Yako, yako.
மலையும் மணலும் சகவாசி, அலையும் கடலும் சகவாசி, விதையும் மரமும் சகவாசி, எல்லாம் சகவாசி. மலையும் மணலும் சகவாசி, அலையும் கடலும் சகவாசி, விதையும் மரமும் சகவாசி, எல்லாம் சகவாசி.
Saga, saga, sagavaasi, சமுத்திரத்தில் பாசி, சரித்திரத்தின் பக்கங்கள் புரட்டி கொஞ்சம் யோசிப்பா. உள்ள கூழாங்கல் ஆட்டுக்குள்ள, வாசி நாட்டுக்குள்ள, பேர் மட்டும் வைத்துக் கொள்ள. நேற்றுக்கும் நாளைக்கும் நடுவே நாடகம் இன்று. ஓட்டுக்கும் ஏட்டுக்கும் இடையே தாயகம் இங்கு. கடிகார கடிவாளம் கண்ட அதிகார பரிவாரம் சுற்ற கடியாத தகராறும் உச்ச விளையாடும் தெருவோரம் பச்ச நீராடி தீயாடி நித்தம் ஓடோடும் பூமி. தானாக தானாக தத்தம் போராடி தீழி. தூவான தும்பிக்கை பாரெங்கும் வேடிக்கை. யாராலே பந்தாட கூடும் நட்சத்திரத்தை.
The interesting bit is this: the female singer who's wearing that mask and singing, her name is Khatija Rahman. She's A.R. Rahman's
Yeah,
daughter.
Rahman.
Oh, interesting.
I was aware of
Yes.
that.
So it's a good one. I had no idea Coke Studio is now doing regional Indian Coke Studios, which is
There's a
absolutely the
Coke
right
Studio
way to.
Bangla also, by the way.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is the right way to do it, right? It's so massive. The country's music scene is so mega
Absolutely.
massive. Like they can literally do a Coke Studio Punjab, they can do a Coke Studio Tamil, they can do a Coke Studio Telugu, they can do a Coke Studio Bengal. All of it can
Easily.
be fit.
क्योंकि मतलब in a way the kappa, if you remember,
Kappa,
right?
Kappa TV, yeah.
Kappa TV and Rose Bowl channels, they were like Coke Studio Kerala.
Exactly.
And the way they were able to blend and get some elements from here and there, that
Right.
was tight. I always believe that was continuing of the same thing. Ki Coke Studio India mein there are just too many masalas in the gravy. It's hard to say कि taste क्या आ रहा है, ये मीठा है, नमकीन है, spicy
Yeah.
है, क्या है. It's
Correct.
Like they
hard to
say,
create
no,
a dish.
ki if there is like more than 5 flavors in the dish, then it's not possible to differentiate between them individually. It gets very hard.
So we had a sweet Gujarati main course today.
मीठा
Yes,
थोड़ा तो होना ही
Kharvo.
पड़ेगा.
Kharvo.
Khalasi.
Kharvo is my takeaway. It was totally Kharvo. By the way, before we head out, just shout out to Donn Bhat. Really encourage and recommend his own production stuff. So he has a track called Ishq and Swalihu with Sakur Khan. And all of this right now is less than 20,000 views. So this is that point of our episode where we come up with our findings which are yet to be discovered.
Gems.
Yeah.
Undiscovered gems.
Undiscovered gems. Yeah.
Awesome. Take care, guys. See you again.
Alrighty.
Bye.
Good night.
Good night. Good night.
इश्क है एक नजर, एक हवा, एक खबर, जो बागबानी निशान. इश्क था वहाँ, ना पूछे ना मुझसे, कौन सीखा मेरे दिल पे जो नाज था, दिल नहीं रहा.
We've been designing the songs in which we can show empowered women. Female chorus will be the sailors. So all the sounds of Haisha, Hayya were given to the women.
Women, amazing.
Okay, भैया